So today we're going to get into some immigration topics because I feel like a lot of people just don't understand what's really happening. Yes, a lot of people, I just watched a Metatron video talking about this where, yes, there are rules. It is insane that nobody's following the rules, but the people who need to follow the rules don't give a shit about the rules. And that's, I don't understand. I don't know, maybe if it's for clicks or maybe it's for attention or entertainment. I don't know. I don't understand it fully. But the fact of the matter is that the people that are coming into this country illegally, they're not possessed of any great amount of intellect. They don't have a whole lot of horsepower going on underneath the hood when we talk about their CPU. They don't really give a shit about another country's laws. And that's why they will just willingly break them. But there's also been a precedent that's been set up, and I realize this might sound obvious, but there has been a precedent that's been carefully and meticulously crafted to sort of condition these people to think that they can just come in and be a part of the country. And so as a result of that, you have my neighbor, for instance. He's a Mexican. He thinks of himself as an American. He's been here for since the 90s. He's not a bad person, mind you. And there are some good people that come into this country that are good, but they're still breaking the fucking law. And I kind of had to have a little sit down man to man with him when he kind of, I don't know, I felt like I was a little bit insecure where he was just like, I'm American. I live here. I'm an American. I'm like, no, you're a Mexican who moved up here legally. You know, your nephew is an American because he grew up in America. He was he is more American than you will ever be. I had to kind of break it down to him. I was like, you will never be American. And nobody's going to really fucking respect you unless you just sort of admit that. Sure, you can be pro-American and you can love America. Yes, but you will never be an American. And he had brought up how so many people were getting upset at the Mexicans that moved up here, as if there were no reason for us to get upset, because he says no one would do the jobs if the Mexicans weren't here. But before the Mexicans showed up, Americans were the ones that were doing these jobs. And that the only reason why the Mexicans were brought up here was because they could be exploited practically for like slave labor, to be used as very, very cheap labor because they're not citizens. And so that's the only reason why we were here. And then he told me a story about in Mexico, how the Chinese factories or Chinese companies would make factories in Mexico and hire Mexicans to do the work in them. But then once they started to bring in Chinese workers to replace the Mexicans, because they're even cheaper, the Mexicans got all up in arms and prevented it from happening. And I was like, gee, the projection was just out of this fucking world. And I was like, yes, that is the reason why we do not like Mexicans in this fucking country. You're not doing jobs that Americans don't want to do. You're just taking American jobs. It's that fucking simple. Plain and simple. But they don't give a fuck. They come up here and they come up here in like big enough numbers and they form their own fucking communities and they have no interest in assimilating. Some of them do. My neighbor is, I feel like, probably one of the few ones that understands his situation here, and he is extremely respectful. He's actually a really great neighbor and a really great person. But at the same time, he's breaking the fucking law. He's not doing what he should be doing. And as a result, that is inherently disrespectful. He claims that a lot of the people that are coming up into this country that are causing all the problems, they're not from Mexico. And I pointed out that all the people I see waving Mexican flags in our country, they're not waving any other fucking flag. I just see a lot of Mexican flags. And then I see all the other Mexicans okay with it. And by okay, I mean they're not doing anything to stop them. And so we have a bunch of entitled fucking foreigners that have come into this country and decided that we're just going to take all your shit and then with zero repercussions. And the problem is that some of these states, the state that I live in especially, is a true enabler of this. And the people that are in charge have just got to go. but we tolerate it because our quality of life is so good that we are willing to put up with an enormous amount of bullshit before the final straw that breaks the back lands. And then it's not good for anybody. But back to the whole topic of immigration and what people sort of miss. It's like God, I say this all the fucking time, but America and the West in general, I'll just say the West. The West is and has been under assault. Under assault by groups of people and organizations that hate you and want to steal as much power as they can from you while at the same time destroying you. And so these people, they realize that they cannot do it by force necessarily. So what they do is they have engineered a perfect little social virus. And this social virus is called communism. And it's like the perfect human weapon. And what I mean by that is that communism was designed to sort of hijack the things about us, some of the best things about us that make us human. But then it like twists, perverts, and distorts it all. And it uses it against us. And it does so with this sort of like utopian vision. Like if you do this, like everything will get better. But in reality, it's basically there to just strip from us violently, murderously, all of the things that make us human. To break us down into effectively just economic units. And the forms that it took in the past were perfectly designed to be carpet bombed over, like the way it was done in Russia and China, with the economic and sort of societal and cultural state that it was in. It was perfect for that type of revolution to take place. And it spread throughout the world in various places to greater or lesser degrees. And in places like the West, it tried to take hold, but ultimately failed in that perspective. Spain went through a pretty nasty bout, but they figured that shit out. And so there's a sort of like a natural kind of resistance built in, I think, to the West. And I feel like it has to do with our staunch sort of individualism. But so what they've had to do is they've had to re-engineer it. And the way that they've done that is it's neo-Marxist, critical theory, critical race theory. All of these things are effectively like strategic nuclear bombs designed like with incredible detail to act as a sort of mind virus, literally a mind virus, and insert that into our culture via the only trajectory that they believe that it could actually take hold in this country and in our culture. And it did take hold. It is very much here. It's like, think of it like this, like the body has been infected with an extremely aggressive disease. And right now it is managing to keep it at bay. But it is this neo-Marxist critical theory thing is every day that it's allowed to exist, every day that it's allowed to exist within our culture and our society, it grows because they realize that the older sort of class thing that they had going on isn't going to work. And so they have to strip us down to our identity and like split that out and break it down, atomize what we identify with to the point where we just sort of start to dissolve. And it's taken root. It is very much actively involved in all aspects of our society. And most of these people out there aren't even really aware of what it is. They are just going along with it. They are just like most people are herd animals. They just go with the fucking herd. And so this whole extreme, crazy, berserk leftist thing, it's sort of like, if you can imagine, like this murderous, like spider. And this murderous spider is like contained right now. And it really fucking like hates where it's being contained. So basically, like, that's probably a really bad analogy. What if I could try to say that in a different way, is that there's this extremely dangerous disease that we've got sort of contained, but is still spreading slowly. And that if left unchecked, and if it reaches a certain critical mass, it's going to enter just into like auto genocide. It's just, people are just going to start being killed off, like communist, like revolution style that we saw in China and other places in the world. It is that level of bad. And that the thing is that they realize that they can't really get a hold of the people that are like the adults. Like, I feel like most people are on either one camp or the other, or some of them are on the fence. But it's the children that they go after, and they realize this. They've stated it openly multiple times that they're going after the kids because that's the future. So they're willing to sit around and play a longer game, and they're going to try and corrupt the children to basically recruit new people because of their soft, malleable, innocent little minds. And they do so via school. They do so via the internet, because these kids on Discord and other things like that are just, it's everywhere. It's meticulous. The everything, all the biggest major institutes, at least most of them, are all kind of designed and geared towards the systematic dismantling and destruction of our culture, of our people, everything. They want to get rid of it. They want to dissolve it because it's getting in the way of their global ambitions. And the only thing that we can really do is hold true to who we are and what we are, and and very plainly be willing to die for it. Because I feel like eventually, it's going to come to some sort of hot engagement. And they're really trying to avoid that as much as they possibly can. Contrary to what a lot of people think, there is this desperate need for all of the patriotic Americans that are armed to the teeth to not actually do anything violent. Their strategy is a more longer-term sadistic infiltration and erosion of our values, beliefs, ethics, morals, all that stuff. And there's not just like two sort of factions here. There's lots of different entities sort of doing this. I'm 100% convinced that China is involved in a huge aspect of this. A lot of other countries are involved because America is so porous and so open that it's so fucking easy to get people in here, so easy to infiltrate it. It's no wonder that we're not even like further along and worse off than we are. And I think that we would have already descended into a cataclysmic communist revolution style event that would have destroyed this country and ripped it apart and turned us into effectively kind of what China is, if it wasn't for the internet. A lot of people like to say that, history repeats itself, or rhymes, doesn't necessarily completely repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I think that when they really tried to kick this thing off, because 2016 is when it really exploded. It obviously had been around, but 2016 was when it took off, and they pushed hard. All hands on deck, all guns firing broadside after broadside into our country. And then COVID happened and they locked it down. And honestly, I kind of lost faith in humanity a little bit during there, but at the same time, the pushback was tangible enough that they had to relent, because if they had kept the pressure on, we would have snapped and it would have been all over. So I feel like because of what the internet had provided us, being able to watch it all happen in real time, it stymied it. And they did sort of take over culturally. the cultural mainstream. And we're still dealing with that. They still have a pretty good solid grasp on the mainstream cultural aspects. But because of what the internet has allowed us to do, sort of disseminate and spread out on the internet, the American and Western culture has been able to survive it. We weathered it. And so the blitzkrieg of what they wanted to be the new communist revolution was halted, kind of like what happened in Ukraine, where they thought, like Russia was just going to steamroll to fucking Kiev and it was going to be over. But then it didn't, and it stalled, and it just devolved into a hellish trench warfare where fucking flying death drones everywhere. And so that's where we're at now. We're in the trenches, so to speak, culturally. And I was over at a friend's house last night, and we were all, having a good time playing cards, drinking, and these topics just came up, and the disturbing things about how co-workers were actively, publicly celebrating Charlie Kirk's death as if, it was perhaps one of the greatest things in the world. And none of us at the table were necessarily huge Charlie Kirk fans, but we're still fucking human beings. And so that is a disturbing notion that these people whom in the past would have been sort of forced to not be a huge piece of shit, are now just freely fronting how awful they are. And they don't care because they've been enabled to do that. The system from the top down, or at least huge powers within the system, are saying that it's okay. And so we are, in effect, a sort of a stalemate. But I feel like the patriotic side of things, the nationalistic side of things, the people that love their country and they understand the value of our culture being our own, is still very, very, very strong. And what the left is doing right now is what I can see to be sort of like a desperate and feeble sort of flopping around, grasping for anything that they can use to make anything happen. But if that would have happened and it would have been a definitive sort of final sort of strike, it would have happened already, because they tried it again, with the Summer of Love during COVID, and it was stopped. Obviously there was a lot of destruction, but that was, I feel like, their last little desperate attempt. And so you get the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I don't believe anything they say about who actually did it or how it was done. They're all lying. But we're playing a very dangerous game right now. And only half of the country realizes how dangerous that game is, because the left, this is their huge crippling flaw right now, is that they are stuck in this like haze, this fantasy, this delusion. They do not have a good grasp on reality at all. They only sort of swallow and digest what has been given to them to digest, the safe, politically correct line. And so they don't actually understand. These people are so fucking delusional that they're so fucking far to the left that they think that Charlie Kirk was radical. And a lot of people have said this, but Charlie Kirk was the good guy. He was the nice guy. And everybody that was sane realizes that. And so now what's going to happen is that Charlie Kirk is gone. He had a huge following. Like the normies watched Charlie Kirk. And when he died, everybody, in a little way, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, became a little bit more radical at that point. And so the left, and I don't know if this is like engineered to be this way. I wouldn't be surprised if it was part of a plan, because the ultimate goal here is to tear America apart and destroy America. That's the goal for some people in some way, shape, or form. And so there are people out there that are trying to push the American or in the Western right to do something to sort of push it over the edge. And that is where we're coming to. But this isn't going to be, when the Civil War happens, it's not going to be anything like we've experienced in the past before. It'll be something totally new. And it'll be really fucking hard to figure out what is really going on. A clear picture. Because I mean, one of the things the first thing that dies in war is the truth. It's going to be really fucking hard to tell what's going on, who's doing what. But I can almost guarantee you that there is going to be a rise of like a super far right movement. It's going to make the Nazis blush. Like that's the direction that's being that we're moving towards. And one of the biggest things about the immigrants that I see coming in that a lot of people don't like to talk about is that there's a lot of different reasons why they're bringing them in. One of the reasons why is because they want to dilute the culture and they want to fill it up with a bunch of foreigners who act as like an anchor, a drag on the system to just put stress on everything, shoot up housing prices, have Americans lose jobs, et cetera, et cetera. The other aspect of that is that they get cheaper labor because they just view humans as an economic unit to be shuffled around. They view America more as an economic zone than it is a nation. The fact that Americans exist here is an inconvenience to them. But another reason that people don't like to talk about, or maybe they just aren't aware of, is that if there were to be anything that were to go down, like a hot conflict, a pseudo civil war, like civil conflict, that type of thing, these people who've been coming in this country are dependent on the system. And all they really got to do is just say, hey, if you want to keep your position here, we can give you like rights. We can give you citizenship if you take these guns and go kill those Americans. And that's a big reason why they're coming in, because they know that when a civil war starts, the right is going to utterly eviscerate the left. It's not even going to be a competition. So they need there to be more bodies here that they can use to throw into the meat grinder. It's going to be nuts. I would say, if I were to have to take a guess, that it's probably going to be at least 1 month of just absolute insane chaos where nobody's going to know what the fuck's going on. There's going to be splinter cell groups. There's going to be little groups that are set up, Chinese or cartel members that are going to have specific targets to strike certain things, to destroy the infrastructure, take the power out. It would be super fucking easy. And I'm just trying to think of, and yeah, it is a little bit paranoid, obviously, but this is just how my brain works. I try to imagine what I would do if I were the one that was going to try and destroy America, and just do as much damage as I possibly could. And that is one of them. I would have little groups, whoever. It's super easy to get them in here. You just got to be in the right spot. And then when the shit goes down, they have a target. They know what to do. They probably even have fucking computer games and they've rehearsed it on there, because that's what I would fucking do with people. I would set it up so that they knew exactly where to strike and when to strike, and a switch to sort of turn them on to get them to do it. And that's going to cause even more fucking chaos. And so we've just set ourselves up here. We've allowed ourselves to come to this point, and it's going to be nasty. I don't know when it's going to kick off. I don't know how it's going to kick off. I know that they are trying to kick it off. Some people are trying not to kick it off. The feeling that I get from the enemies of the West, within and without, is that it's a day by day thing. It's a day by day strategy. And a lot of their old tools that they were using aren't working anymore. People are getting really fucking pissed off. Most people now are starting to see through the bullshit. And it's very, it's very good to see. It gives me hope that we'll be able to make it through this. But the storm is coming. A lot of these states, especially the most Democrat states, the leftist states, they're trying to take precautions towards this by effectively disarming you. Washington, California, Colorado. These are just the desperate little attempts because they're planning for the future with this. And I can't even say exactly when it's going to totally kick off, but I feel like the 2030s is really when this shit's going to happen. I really feel like it's so hard to predict though, because we can look at history and we can see what was happening and we can look at the trends and we can kind of put them onto what we got going on now. But at the same time, we have the internet now and we have all this crazy technology. And so it acts as a sort of a wild card. It makes the future really hard to predict because of that sort of new energy that's involved, the technological energy. And so it could go either way. It's just that which side is able to rally and come together around a specific unifying purpose is going to be the one that makes it through. I feel like that is going to be the deciding factor because that is one thing in the past that has shown to be effective. And right now, the left, for as fragmented and utterly crazy that they are still united by hatred. They hate you, effectively. That is the thing that unites them together. Hatred. And so the right is all over the fucking place. The right is fragmented as much as there are, right-wing or not even necessarily right-wing, but just not crazy left-wing influencers. It's all over the fucking place. And so right now there is this sort of tenuous alliance that has taken place surrounding this administration, surrounding Trump. And I know for a fact that a lot of the European countries also look to Trump and feel the same way. Especially just the sane, patriotic, the people who love their fucking country and they love their people, they all looked at Trump too as sort of this leader. And, he's not perfect, but he is holding everything together right now. It was just in complete free fall under Biden because he wasn't actually doing anything. He was just sort of the meat puppet that they propped up to show in front of the cameras while everybody else ran everything else in the background. But it's like people get complacent really fucking easy. And right now people are getting complacent because they see that, Trump's in office. He could be taken out at any moment. He's grooming Vance to take over, which is nice because I do think that that's really important. But and he is doing a really good job of that too. But the right really needs to get their shit together, and they need to figure out what it is that we can all unify around in order to make this work. Because right now we have the bajillions of denominations of Christians that can't seem to get along, and they always argue about semantics. And then you have all the people like me who are not Christian, who don't really fit into that as well. And so it's a do or die type of situation. We either figure it out, get past our differences, and unify around the American flag and our people, or we die. We dissolve over time, slowly get eroded away, or they find a chink in the armor, exploit it, and then go in for the kill. That is what we're looking at here. And so, I never really talked politics before, but I find myself thinking about it all the time. I find myself talking about it with friends all the time, and I see what's going on out there in the world. And I figured I would just throw my voice into the thing to just, hopefully see what happens. I'm going to be talking a lot more about other things as well. I'm going to be talking about people, influencers, politicians, current events, things like that. But it is, I feel, just really important that I say these things because maybe it will resonate with somebody. But the thing that we do as patriots, as people who love our fucking country, who feel that need to do something, there are some things that we can do, and those things are the things that they will not and cannot suffer to happen. They will do anything and everything in their power to disrupt that. And the thing that they have been doing is just labeling any group of, even if you're not white, the anti-white sentiment is real. It's just because most of the people that, you know, are in these countries are white. So they go with the white supremacist angle. When a bunch of white people get together, but they don't even have to be white. Like, I got friends that are brown, just as patriotic as I am, but they'll get thrown into it too. They call them white supremacists too. It's fucking crazy. But that isn't working anymore. And honestly, all you really have to do is just ignore it, because it's meaningless. They've used the word so much. And this is why I was saying it's just like they're desperately flopping around right now, trying to grasp onto something that works. And they had a really good strategy, but they're really bad at improvising, and they're really bad at going with the flow and in the moment. And so the only way that we can really pull through this is if we come together. If we set aside what superficial differences that we have and work together for our own survival, because that is what is on the line. Plain and simple. The survival of our nations, our people, our culture, our heritage, our history, all of it. All of it is on the fucking line here. It is a literal matter of life and death for us on this planet. And I really want to try and impart that onto people, because the stakes are the highest right now. And people get lulled in that false sense of security, like the Charlie Kirk thing and the Trump thing when he almost got assassinated, kind of shocked people out of that, but it's not good enough. People need to wake up further. And I try my best with my friends. Some of them, I'm just like, guys, this is crazy. Like, they will do this to you one day if they can get away with it. It's that simple. So getting together with your fellow Americans, Europeans, whatever country that you're from, and just, I mean, even in Japan, because they're trying to get that shit going in Japan right now too. You got to just get together. Network. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to form a network. Telegram's a really great one. Signal's a really good one. Just to get together, create some sort of dialogue, and just grow the community. Communicate with other communities. Go actively looking for other communities. Just connect with each other, because they've worked really fucking hard to split you all up. They've even gone so far as to create just sort of like fake right-wing accounts to sort of make you think that you're like listening or talking about something that's good, but really it's just a distraction. A lot of these influencers are peddling outrage for clicks. They're doing the same exact thing that the left is doing, but and all that really is a distraction. They just want to keep you outraged enough that you're willing to click and watch the video, but never outraged enough to actually do anything about the situation that we're in. And so there's a delicate line that we got to walk here, but we're smart. Our instincts are good, and we'll figure it out. You know, I don't want to talk about this shit. All I really want to do is just fucking hang out with my friends, play D&D, and enjoy my life. But I just can't do it anymore. I can't sit here and just watch the world fucking burn down around me. You know, because I love people. I love Americans. I love my people. And I want to see us thrive in the future. And so I guess I'm just going to have to step up to the plate somehow. And that plate is just probably going to be yapping about all this shit and sharing my opinion. So anyway, I think that's all I got. Just a little introductory video on kind of where I'm going with this channel from now on. I'll throw some, like, I am a spiritual person, but I'm not Christian as Christians would see you. I'm kind of so all over the place that I don't even know if there's a word to describe it. People try to put me into a box, but I really don't give a shit what they think. Anyway, that's all I got. I will see you guys in the next video.